Yo ho ho, Da Mafia. Welcome to another edition of the Da Mafia Report, day 2 of the daily video for an entire year challenge, okay? Very excited to be here. And today, you read the title correctly. This entire offseason, we have been exceptionally obsessed with what the Buffalo Bills have done. Whether or not that it was the free agent signings, whether or not that it was the draft picks that we just ended up making about a week or so ago. But at the end of the day, a lot of us haven't really been paying attention to what exactly the rest of the AFC East has been up to. So what I thought would be valuable is I kind of want to give like a rough breakdown of each and every single team in the AFC East, let you know players that they lost, players that they acquired during free agency, and then players that they ended up drafting as well. So we're going to go through all of that. Just a couple of quick announcements. It is Mother's Day, so if you did not call your mother, please do so. Don't be a piece of shit. Call your mama. And the second announcement is, as always, I do want to remind everyone that I am giving away either a PS5 or an Xbox Series X on July 2nd, which just so happens to be my 30th birthday. So the only way to enter is to simply be a subscriber to this YouTube channel, screenshot proof, and DM me over at Instagram at RealDanMitchell, and you will have an opportunity of bringing home a next-gen console on July 2nd. So definitely do not miss out on that. And so I have no idea why I had my shades on for those first couple of minutes of the video, but you know what? Let's just roll with it. It's all right, Da Mafia. I feel like we need to first start off with the Miami Dolphins, especially since the Miami Dolphins were, I would say, our biggest challenge last year in 2020, right? And I mean, I always joke around with my buddy TD Finns talk about how I thought that his offseason has been, for the most part, pretty anticlimactic. In my opinion, they really didn't do too bad. So when it comes down to it, the players that they lost, right, is number one, Matt Breida. For all of you who say that I butcher his last name every time I say it, I have finally corrected it. You guys know me. It's every year. I always destroy somebody's last name that is on the Bills. But you know what? It's fixed, and until next year. And so they also ended up losing out on Ryan Fitzmagic, who is now donning the QB position for the Washington football team. Shaq Lawson, a former Buffalo Bill defensive end, ended up going over to the Texans. And then Kyle Van Noy, which was very, very surprising that they decided to release him. I mean, dude, man, legitimately just got a massive payday from Miami and then ended up going back to New England. So, I mean, total Belichick move there. And so as far as players acquired so far, they ended up picking up Jacoby Brissett, which I was completely surprised about. This is the first time that I actually even learned about this. It must have not been very huge news, but it seems like that they're going on ahead and they are addressing the backup quarterback position. I mean, the way that Tua was playing last year too, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacoby Brissett perhaps might even end up winning out the QB position going into their 2021 season, but we shall see. Then they ended up picking up Malcolm Brown, a running back from the Los Angeles Rams. You might remember him as one of the running back duo that absolutely torched the Buffalo Bills, where we ended up playing them and they almost had that scary comeback on week 3, week 4 of 2020. So seems like they're finally trying to address the running back issue. They ended up picking Will Fuller, wide receiver out of the Texans. He's going to be suspended for the first game, but as long as he does not continue to inject steroids up his right ass cheek, it looks like he's going to be a pretty huge asset to the Dolphins, especially being paired up with Devontae Parker and the receiver that I'm about to name here shortly once we get to the draft portion. And so last but not least, Robert Foster, who we all know and love as an old Buffalo Bills receiver. So it was clear during free agency that the Miami Dolphins really wanted to address their wide receiver issue and make sure that Devontae Parker was not the only weapon that their young quarterback did have. Then, of course, it ended up coming down into the draft. And let's just say that they took full advantage of their 2 picks in the first and 2 picks in the second. And so they picked up Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama. In my opinion, if he was healthy in 2020, I think that he would have had a better season than Devontae Smith, who was the ultimate Heisman winner. This is a great pick by the Dolphins. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that this guy is going to be a stud, if not this year, definitely down the road. And so next was going to be Jalen Phillips, defensive end out of Miami. Now, I mean, there's been a giant debate on who is the better defensive end coming out of that school, either Phillips or Greg Rousseau. I just so happen to think that Rousseau has a hell of a lot higher of a ceiling than Jalen Phillips does. but we shall see. Regardless, it looks like that the Miami Dolphins are trying to double down on not only their pass rush, but their defense as well. And so last couple of notable picks, they ended up picking a safety out of Oregon, and so that's Javon Holland. And finally, Liam Eichenberg, an offensive lineman outside of Notre Dame, who has been described not the most talented offensive lineman, but apparently since 2019, he's only allowed pressure 1.1% of the times that he was out there for the snap. So I think this might be a pretty good move on them, and so we will definitely see what's going on. Next up, the New Jersey Jets. No, ladies and gentlemen, I will never call them the New York Jets because they do not play in New York. The second that they build a stadium within the state line of New York, I will start calling them that. However, as far as notable players that they lost, to be completely honest with you, the only one that I deem notable would have to be Sam Darnold. I think that they went on ahead and they, really rolled the dice on the Zach Wilson kid. Let's see if it plays out for them. But they actually did have a pretty damn good free agency. I'm not sure if a lot of you knew, but they actually had some pretty big names. I was surprised that they were able to actually get people to come and play for the New York Jets. So a tip of the cap to front office for completely making their organization look like an organization that knows what they're doing. So first off, they end up getting big defensive end Carl Lawson out of Cincinnati. A lot of Buffalo Bills fans wanted him in free agency, but the Jets ultimately ended up picking him up. And so then they ended up addressing their issue with overall offensive weapons for the new quarterback. They not only got Keelan Cole from the Jacksonville Jaguars, I am actually a huge fan of, they also ended up getting Corey Davis, an absolute stud out of Tennessee. So it really seems like that the Jets really want to give as many weapons to their young quarterback as damn possible. And so besides that, they also ended up picking Tevin Coleman, running back out of the Chicago Bears, Dan Feeney, an offensive lineman out of the Chargers, wanting to address the abysmal offensive line play they've had for the past couple of years. So overall free agency, I would say I am actually pretty impressed with what the new coaching staff in New Jersey is currently doing. And so draft was even more impressive, to be honest with you. First off, they have Zach Wilson. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really not sold on this kid. I really think that he's going to be a bust in the NFL. I'm sorry, Jets fans, if you are watching this. I would love to be proven wrong, and I will look all of you in the eye and say that I am an absolute Homer Bills fan who knows nothing, who doesn't know shit about what he's talking about. But so far, not a bad pick. I think Justin Fields probably is going to have a better career, but we shall see. But then the next couple of picks really, really impressed me. They ended up picking up Vera Tucker, an offensive lineman who, in my opinion, is probably one of the best prospects that came out of that draft. And so dude came out of USC, and like I said, the offensive line needs to be addressed over in New Jersey. And I mean, these guys clearly got it. And so then from there, they also ended up getting Elijah Moore, wide receiver out of Ole Miss, who I think was incredibly underrated. Great pick. They're stacking up this receiving core as much as they possibly can. And then Michael Carter, running back from UNC, who in my opinion was the third best running back that people could probably go on ahead and pick during this draft. Of course, behind Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. So it seems like Saleh is doing his job so far. Really liking what this team is putting together. Last but not least, we have the evil empire, the New England Patriots. It's nice that we ended up getting revenge on these fools last year, twice, as a matter of fact. Last game was a bit more satisfying. I absolutely loved smacking the shit out of them. However, their offseason moves have been pretty impressive, especially when it comes down into free agency. As far as notable players lost, they did end up losing Joe Thuney to Kansas City, who is probably one of the best offensive linemen in the league. So that's going to be a very difficult position to fill and make a lot better. And so they also ended up losing Dante Moncrief, who really didn't have that much of an incredible season last year. Of course, they also ended up losing out on McCourty, which is also pretty interesting. So far, they had some minimal losses, but at the end of the day, they're still getting a lot of damn players coming back from who opted out in 2020. So this team's defense and overall team is looking to be a bit more complete. Now, free agency is where they just completely whip their cocks out, right? These dudes ended up picking probably the two best tight ends that were available in free agency. Jonnu Smith out of Tennessee, and then Hunter Henry out of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I'm not sure if Bill is just trying to recreate that one Patriots team that had Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. The only missing ingredient he has is a quarterback, to be honest with you, but it seems like that's where his mindset is going. Not even on top of that, they also ended up picking up Matthew Judon, edge rusher out of the Baltimore Ravens, fantastic player. Dude, man, got a damn payday. It looks like Bill is going on ahead and he's trying to double down on the strengths that his teams already have. Finally, they also ended up picking up Nelson Aguilar, wide receiver, who was recently on the Raiders, spent the majority of his career with the Eagles. He was known for not being able to catch a football. I believe last year he ended up doing okay. So, I mean, I'm really not worried about this pick. And then also Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver, who adds a little bit of speed to the mix. So, as much as I hate the Patriots, I will not lie to you. Their offense has gotten significantly better. And it doesn't matter if Cam Newton is starting or if Mac Jones is starting. I think that they're going to have plenty of weapons to be able to play with. And so then finally, it comes down to the draft. We all know that Mac Jones ended up being the quarterback selected in the first round by the New England Patriots. I personally think this is a very goofy dude. I mean, just watch the way this fool walks. For some reason, I feel like Bill Belichick just, loves those quarterbacks that cannot move around the pocket at all. So, I mean, let's go on ahead and let's hope that their offensive line is about as solidified as possible, because if he goes up against any defense that has even marginally enough of a pass rush, Mac Jones is going to be on his ass quite often. And so besides that, they also ended up picking up Christian Barmore, their second straight pick out of the University of Alabama, defensive tackle, absolute stud. I think that he's probably going to be able to make an impact on that team on day one moving forward. So he's going to be a name to look at. And then finally, Ronnie Perkins, defensive end out of Oklahoma, who is also a very, very talented NFL-ready prospect moving forward. So, Down Mafia, the title of this video is, do I think the Buffalo Bills should be nervous about any team in the AFC East based off of not only free agency, the draft, you name it? Short answer is, fuck no. Not at all. When I look at this division, the Buffalo Bills are still the best team in the AFC East, and frankly, I'm almost willing to argue that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC, even over the Chiefs. Now, if I had to guess any team, if there's any team that I think that could give us a run for our money, maybe snag a wild card, I would have to say it's going to be, this is a toss-up, I would have to say it's going to be the New England Patriots. I mean, I think that with all of the players that are coming back that opted out in 2020, their wild free agency, I just think that Bill's team is in a better position to go on ahead and actually have a pretty decent record this year. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, dude, I just think there's like way too many questions with the quarterback position. I think their defense is fire. I think they made a lot of great moves adding talent right to the wide receiver core. But at the end of the day, I still see the Buffalo Bills absolutely handling business both times that we play the Dolphins next year. And then the New York Jets, I would have to say that they had the best offseason out of any team that was in this division. They had the best offseason, but they are just so far away. They have a young quarterback coming in, still a pretty new team. I mean, I think that they're still a couple of years away. But, I mean, I do want to applaud the Jets because I do think that they had the best offseason out of any single team that we had. Do me a favor, leave a comment. What do you think? What team should we be most nervous about? Should we be nervous at all? Are we just going to run away and completely sweep the AFC East? I think we're going to, but let's go on ahead and let's have a conversation down in the comments. Dom Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. As always, I will see you tomorrow. And before I let you go, always remember, let's go Buffalo.